Welcome back to Behind the Brief, the podcast where we go beyond the buzzwords and into the real stories behind great marketing and leadership. In this founder series, I'm having conversations with builders scaling their startups at 10x speed and, more importantly, creating tools that marketers actually want to use. My guest today is Joseph Lee, CEO and founder of Supademo, recently ranked G2's top 5 fastest growing products, Forbes 30 under 30 honoree, and a 2-time founder. And in this conversation, we'll explore 2 things: what Supademo is and why it matters to marketers, and the why behind Joseph building it in the first place. So if you've ever wondered how the best marketing tools are born and what it really takes to scale one, then stick around. Thank you so much, Joseph, for coming on my show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to chat.
Absolutely. Let's just get right into it. And I want to ask you about a moment, like how did the idea for Supademo click? And what problem were you seeing that made you think, I have to build this product?
Yeah, I think it was really a lived experience that I faced while being a builder for the last decade. So, for a high level context, we had gone through a very big pivot in my previous company. And through that pivot, we had essentially been forced to transition from an online marketplace to a traditional B2B SaaS where we were knocking on doors, calling people, emailing, and trying to get folks to book a demo with us. But what we really struggled with, and I personally struggled with, is how do you convey the true value of your product and how your features work with just buzzwords, like you mentioned, or marketing copy that doesn't really resonate. And I'd struggled. I tried creating videos. It took a long time. You had to have a long script. No one wanted to watch anything longer than a minute and a half. And it was constantly out of date because our product was changing so often. So I figured there had to be a better way. And one of the aha moments that I had was when I was guiding a customer through our product step by step in a more interactive, back and forth engaging way. And that light bulb moment hit for them. And they were like, holy crap, I need this product. I get it now. Your website wasn't very clear, but I get it. How do I get started? And in the back of my head, I was thinking, wow, how do I emulate this exact experience of getting folks to the aha moment in a visual, tactile, kind of learning by doing way, but doing it in a more self-serve, PLG, scalable way. And kind of kept that in the back of my pocket. And once I left that company, which is still going, back in 2022. It was one of the ideas that I convened on with my co-founder, Kaushik.
Right. So that aha moment for you, was that a confirmation that this is actually needed in the market?
I think that was the first inflection point, right? I think in any business, I would say the idea morphs and evolves over time. But the directional compass, that stayed true over time. We knew that we wanted to create a more delightful, engaging way for people to demonstrate the full value and potential of their products. How that's crafted and the external housing of it, that we didn't necessarily know. But over time, building in this way and that way and kind of feeling the pulse and pull from the market is how we ended up with Supademo, which we're very grateful for.
Right. So for a marketer hearing about Supademo for the first time, how would you explain it under 30 seconds?
Yeah, so Supademo helps companies create engaging, clickable, interactive demos using AI that you can then deploy across onboarding, sales, enablement, marketing, anywhere you need to show how your product works and why it's valuable to end users.
So if I get into Supademo today and I start building some workflows around some demos that I want to build for the product that I'm working for, what's one feature that you or your team are currently raving about the most and why?
Well, I would say it's very easy to rave about features and continue to expand the scope of what you do. But what our customers, 100,000 different professionals that we work with, what they rave about the most is our ease of use. So it is dead simple, and it's really, really tough to craft a company and a business and a product that is easy, intuitive, fast, and delightful, and not let scope creep in. So I would say ease of use and being able to create your first demo within the first 5 minutes and edit it and personalize it and share it. I think that is really our magic touch.
That's pretty interesting actually, because demo creation is one thing that I don't like. But yeah, I think if you're saying it's that easy, maybe I'll have to give it a try.
Yeah, and I think that is a perception that we're hoping to help
Exactly.
shed over through our execution.
Absolutely. So have you seen the usage of Supademo in a different manner? Like, have you seen marketers talk about your product in a different way that has actually surprised you?
I wouldn't say there are too many use cases that have really surprised me. And I only say this because I'm probably the number one power user of Supademo. And I try to ingrain it and use it across every function of both my daily life and company. And I think that's how you get the most juice out of the orange when it comes to adopting a Supademo. But we've seen some pretty novel use cases. People using it for example, prototyping. They'll use our Figma plugin to create like clickable prototypes of their demos and send it out, and maybe embed like a survey or a form at the end of it to collect feedback. For marketing, obviously, we see a lot of it in change logs and product updates. Because I think a lot of marketers sometimes get lazy. They feel like people will understand the new feature and just get excited by it by default and adopt it. And they just slap on a static screenshot expecting them to know what they're talking about. But in reality, people need to be educated. Even if they are a power user and a customer, an existing customer, you still need to guide them through the value of that feature, why it's beneficial, use cases for it. And no better way than to have an in-context Supademo in kind of your wall of text where people can click through and very quickly realize, oh, I get this new feature. I want to
Okay.
now try it out.
That's very interesting, actually. I also want to know things from your lens, and we should talk about scaling. So, as Superdemo is currently one of the fastest growing products on G2, what do you think contributed most to that growth? And seeing it grow, what were your, I'm sure you must be excited and thrilled, but what were your first intentions around it?
Yeah, well, I think growth, it never really comes from one source. It's a confluence of a million different things that you work on that all bubble up and contribute to your end goal. So I would say we've been very, very tactical and boots on the ground. And we've been pretty much just like having customer obsession has been a big part of what we do. So customer obsession, really caring about the craftsmanship of our product. Every little thing that goes out, we are reviewing down to a T, down to every pixel, and ensuring that the experience, as I mentioned, is simple, delightful, and we're not adding features for the sake of just adding features and announcing them. It all needs to bubble down to our core value metric of helping customers demonstrate products faster and better.
So, as a founder, I know you focus mostly on customers, but what's your next push like for marketing or product updates? Like, you want to scale, you want money, you want profit coming in. So, what are your priorities on that?
Yeah, well, from a feature building standpoint,
Yeah.
it's interesting that you brought up customers because I think there is an element of listening to customers and having empathy and building the most popular and most requested things that folks are looking for to enhance their workflow. But there's another angle to it where, not to say I'm like Steve Jobs, but you also need to be prescriptive about the future. Right? You are building a roadmap of how you want customers to behave and work and save time and find value in the future. And part of that is creating that future and having customers adopt that new way of creating demos or creating tutorials or guidance. So there's that when it comes to building the roadmap. I would say in terms of like priorities, everything again needs to boil down to your North Star metric, whatever that North Star metric is in your company roadmap, whether it be growth initiatives, marketing, customer success. I think everything ultimately needs to bubble down and contribute to whatever North Star metric that you're running towards.
Yeah, I want to pull in that plug that I saw in many of your LinkedIn posts as well that you talk about. It's not a long time ago that you started storytelling or started building in public.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like, how important is it for Superdemo as well? The storytelling part, the being, very considerate about the kind of narrative that you're pulling out in the public. So, what role does storytelling play in that
I
sense?
think storytelling is incredibly important, and I think it's becoming more and more important, especially as the process of building products and the technological effort of shipping features becomes much more diminished and democratized, right? It's very, very easy nowadays to, you see it all the time, like build, doc, send in 10
Yeah.
minutes. And really, when you think about defensibility and the eminence of your brand,
Mm-hmm.
and how top of mind it is, it's all about storytelling, right? It's all about branding. It's all about distribution. Distribution doesn't come without brand. Brand doesn't come without storytelling. And I feel like customers ultimately want to buy from other people. They don't want to buy from a nameless brand. I think the future is one where people buy from people and people buy into stories and narrative and the belief system of a company. And for you to build that, you got to post, right? And you got to share raw, authentic stories about the good and some of the bad of your human experience of building a company. And it's been incredibly fruitful for us so far.
Exactly. I actually connected with you through one of your LinkedIn posts only, and I felt it so real. I was like, I love what you're talking about, what you've built before I actually knew what Supademo is. To be really honest, and
Amazing.
it's really inspiring because I got inspired from your post. I was like, can I bring him on my podcast? If I can, I would love to ask how is he building. But that kind of post inspired me about consistency, the way you were talking about how difficult it is, but now you are seeing it scale. Now it's like becoming a marketer's favorite tool. So that's something that really inspired me. And I was like, I really need to bring this honest story to my podcast. Is there any marketing tactic that flopped, that gave you a lot of lessons? Because I am sure there must be many, because there are so many things that you try and then you fail. And that one thing gets, all the attention because it worked. So I want to know what didn't work for you.
And I think and I don't want to like be prescriptive or paint with a broad brush and say this channel is not effective, because I think a lot of channels, the effectiveness depends on what stage you are, what type of resourcing you're trying to put in, stage of the company as well. So for example, there are tactics that didn't work for us in the beginning that are starting to work a little bit better for us now as we scale. But two that, just generally come to mind, and they're probably dozens and dozens of channels that never worked out for us. But two that come to mind is probably more outbound. So outbound sales and ads are another one, right? We've tried placing ads on Reddit, for example, placing ads, Google SEO. We've dabbled a little bit in LinkedIn. But I think ultimately when it comes to ads or any outbound kind of motion, it's a very fine balance between being too salesy, because I think people are on the defensive immediately, right? So being too salesy and like adding value and crafting the right tone and the right narrative and making sure enough eyeballs see it, but also measuring and ensuring that there is a return on ad spend. That's a tough thing to do when you are a very small team and you don't have someone dedicated to scaling that specific channel.
Exactly. Yeah. So mostly, like, I love that you mentioned about not being too salesy, because as a consumer, if I keep getting messages around, you need to buy this is why this product is good, and this is how we help, I think that's where the block or the wall comes in from a customer's point of view. They will not want to hear from you because the approach is too off. Like, it's not connecting them on a human level. So I think what you mentioned is really true. And even in most cases, B2B marketing, it's difficult because all everybody's trying to do is approach from a B2B sales angle, try and have a story behind it, try and connect it on their pain points, on the customer's pain. I think that's what connects people the most. So I want to focus on a couple of last few questions around what's one lesson that you learned about building something for marketers, or in general any ICP that you built, that you had some assumptions around it, but then some data proved you wrong.
I mean, I think marketers get sold to all of the time, so they can see past like the facade. So one thing that I picked up that has been really effective is just being value first in whatever approach or channel that you go through, right? So an example, tactical example of this is one growth lever that worked very well for us in the very early innings is whenever product marketers would send out product updates or feature updates, post a changelog, what we would do is actually take the contents and the work that they created, and we would fashion that into a Supademo that we would create for them. So we would actually sign up for their account or their product, read their documentation or their product release in their own tone, using their tone, craft up, say, like a 6 to 7 click Supademo, and respond to their product update saying, hey, this was an excellent product update. I see the value. well written. Now, if you embedded a Supademo like this, linking it in line, we think this would be even more powerful for driving adoption, enablement, getting people to understand the scope and value of your work. And that is a very value first approach. I'm not saying, hey, use Supademo. I'm saying, hey, this is like an example. I've done the work for you. I've reduced the friction and I'm
Right.
showing you, not telling you what you can experience. And if they choose to sign up, then that's on their own accord. I'm not telling them to do that, right? And you'd be surprised how little founders or folks who are trying to scale will do tactical kind of done for you type of work like this. And it can be incredibly helpful and instrumental in the very early days of getting the snowball rolling down the hill.
Exactly. I love that. And the fact that you mentioned doing the work before you actually see something or providing value before you know if they click the link or not. So I just want to ask a couple of last few questions around, can you give one piece of advice to marketers or early stage founders who are or kind of, building their early stage startup or trying to build something in public? Just one advice that uh, you would have wanted somebody to give you or you already knew when you were
Yeah,
starting.
I would say two different things that come to mind. I would say the first thing is just take the first step. I think sometimes you want whatever you put out there in public to be perfect. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, nor is it going to feel perfect even as you scale or become more prominent or have expertise. So I would say it's better to be consistent and get your stuff out there, whether it be shipping product or posting on LinkedIn. Getting it out early and often and in a consistent way, I think is much more important than perfection. Obviously, you want things to be high quality, but you don't want to dissuade yourself from doing things because you don't have everything figured out or it's not perfect. So that's one. The second piece specifically around content is it can be daunting to feel post often and to feel like you are not a thought leader and you don't have enough to say or enough valuable insights. But what you realize is the world is a massive place. Everyone has their own set of unique insights and you'd be surprised. People are picking up nuances and insights and knowledge from people that you may not expect. And that could be you. Even if you're junior. Yeah, just get your knowledge and get your thoughts and opinions out there in a consistent manner. And over time, you're naturally just going to build an audience as a result of that.
I love that. It's so true because before I was actually starting my podcast, I was like, would anybody want to hear me? Why would anybody want to listen to what questions I have to ask? And then I saw some videos around it and I was like, no, but my voice is different, right? I'll be asking different questions. I have a different take on marketing or any other thing in the world. So I think that's a really good advice to people listening and it works. Like it definitely you have to take the first step, but yes, it
I feel
works.
like that every day. Every day when I post on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, it's like this sounds so trivial or
Yeah,
stupid or it's not that intelligent. But no, lots of people message me, DM me saying, like you, saying, hey, this was
exactly.
incredibly helpful and thank you for posting. And I'm like, wow. Maybe I do have something to say, right? And
Absolutely. Yeah.
you do as well, Shruti, and so does everyone else.
Yes, thank you so much. And that's why we are here talking, right? I saw your post and I got inspired. And just one last question. Fast forward to 2 years, what's your dream vision for Supademo?
Well, our goal is to enable and help 1 million businesses worldwide create more effective, engaging product demos for whatever use case they have across their organization. So we're already working with 100,000 different professionals. And so we're on the right track. We've definitely just scratched the surface of what we're capable of. I think making a dent in the universe and making a true impact within our community, I think that's really what I'm looking to achieve.
Absolutely. And I wish you all the best. And the Supademo team, you guys are doing amazingly killer work at
Thank you.
Supademo. And thank you so much, Joseph, for taking us behind the brief on Supademo and sharing your journey as a founder.
Beautiful. Thanks for having me.
And if you're a marketer listening, think about the last time you struggled to show your product's value instead of just talking about it. And that's exactly the gap Supademo is filling. Check out Supademo and let us know what you feel about it. You can learn more about Supademo at supademo.com. And if you have loved today's conversation, follow the podcast for more founder stories, marketing strategies, and tools that are shaping the way we work. This is Shruti signing off.